What's good, Internet? My name is attackslug, and welcome to my SmackDown Live reactions for the week of July the 26th, 2016, and that's very important how you emphasize that video title. It is SmackDown Live Reactions, not SmackDown Live Reactions. Obviously, this video is not live. The name of the show is SmackDown Live. Don't get mad at me in the comments, please. Anyway, after a fresh Raw, we have a fresh SmackDown. Now, I should mention this match here, there is no six-pack challenge mode in this game, therefore, unfortunately, this is a Battle Royal, but that's kind of inconsequential. So, we start SmackDown Live with, oh, already got somebody out. We start SmackDown Live with Daniel Bryan, and that's ironic, and Shane in the ring, got the whole roster around the ring. And we get all into our SmackDown business. They tell us things that we already know, like that there is a SmackDown-only pay-per-view in September, and that will be Backlash. So the Raw one at the end of September is Clash of the Champions, I believe. So, that being said, we needed a new #1 contender for Dean Ambrose, your WWE Champion. Therefore, we're going to have a six-pack challenge. It's going to be Cena, Bray, Dolph, Corbin, AJ, and the winner of a Battle Royal. Now, they had the Battle Royal right after that announcement. It is the first match on the card. And I will say, this is the saddest Battle Royal that I have seen in quite some time. It is mostly tag team guys, a bunch of guys who were just in NXT, and your top names in here in terms of, like, guys who actually matter, because, you know, the other five that matter are already in that six-pack challenge. So, realistically, you would think, okay, Del Rio or Kane. Now, I'm going to give Raw a lot of credit here from yesterday. And Raw had a 3-hour show, and it was a fresh show. And even though Raw has the big show, they didn't show us the big show. SmackDown, they have Kane. Guess what? Here's some Kane. But thankfully, Kane did not win this match. There were some Zack Ryder botches in this match. There ended up being the winner of Apollo Crews, who is the sixth man in that six-pack challenge, which is the main event of the evening. Now, I want to say, oh, there he goes. Raw this week felt super fresh, so I was excited to see what SmackDown was going to do, and honestly, it felt a lot like they did for Raw. And what I mean by that is just the production techniques. I was like, wow, Raw is using new camera angles and different camera techniques, and as someone who does a lot of video stuff, that to me is super interesting. And I was like, alright, well, how is SmackDown going to differentiate themselves on Tuesday nights? And the thing is, they kind of didn't. It was a lot of the same new camera stuff, so it kind of still felt like Raw Jr. Anyway, we get a Shelton Benjamin video package, so I guess he's back. That was one of the rumored signings, is they were going to sign Shelton Benjamin and MVP. So yeah, one of the two. And there was another rumor that did come true in terms of new guys later on, that I'll get to. We had these weird, like, promos from each guy in that six-pack challenge. Honestly, I did like, because that kind of harkens back to an earlier time when that kind of stuff happened. So I kind of, even if they weren't great promos, I enjoy them trying to do it. Then we had some women's wrestling. We had Becky Lynch versus Natalya, and I know I said on Sunday night during Battleground, hey, get used to seeing this match, because you're going to see it a whole lot, because these are like your top two girls on SmackDown, and here we go, we're seeing it again, and Becky Lynch wins. Match was alright. But then, out comes the rest of the women's roster for SmackDown. So out comes Alexa Bliss, who gets interrupted by Naomi, who gets interrupted by Carmella, who I don't understand why she wasn't stuck with Enzo and Cass on Raw, why she had SmackDown. She's kind of doing the same gimmick. And then, your final female here on SmackDown, and honestly, Eva Marie. As much as I don't care about Eva Marie, and as much as she is just, you know, the worst in, say, both wrestling and promo, the introduction, the announcer for Eva Marie, building her up, was fucking amazing. Whoever thought of that, thumbs way up on that, because that was awesome. But then you get into the part where you go, well, I have to watch Eva Marie. I don't want to do that. All red, ever dying! After that segment, we get a Miz TV with The Miz, who is still your IC champion, interviewing himself. But he was kind of, the way he was talking, you thought it would have been Randy Orton, but it wasn't Randy Orton. But Randy Orton thought, hey, you were mentioning me, so he came out to interject himself wearing no pants. So we had that one time where Randy Orton wore pants at Battleground, but he's back to being no pants Randy. Anyway, this whole segment sets up a match between Randy Orton and The Miz, and honestly, this is the least orange that Randy Orton has looked in years. Perhaps he forgot where he put all his spray tan, but he was looking super pale. It was really, really weird. It was really weird. And they kind of had, a match. The Miz focused on Orton's shoulder, which is, what he was out for. But funny enough, Randy Orton was not out for getting hurt in the wrestling ring. Randy Orton hyperextended his shoulder, taking out the garbage. So they don't mention that. Anyway, obviously, Randy Orton wins here. But it was weird, like, he got the RKO out of nowhere, and then just kind of hung around and waited for a bit, and then Miz got back up and gave him another RKO. They were just kind of like, felt like they were filling time here. Perhaps SmackDown is not used to being live, so there were some parts of this show where it felt like they were just filling time, or they were perhaps thought they were in a commercial or could edit around it, and they were like, no wait, you're live, guys, you need to, make this 2 hours. You have a spot to fill here. That was weird. But yeah, that end of that match was strange. Anyway, we go to commercial, we come back, we've got a jobber hanging around in the ring. We don't find out who this jobber was going to fight, but instead, the free agent, baby! Heath Slater comes out, beats up the jobber, gets on the mic, and like, look, I'm the hottest free agent in wrestling today, you draft me on your show, sign Heath Slater. And Shane comes out and's like, nah, son, nah. And I like that they're, in this new era that we're apparently in now, they're more willing to reference things that happened in the past. And we know that historically, they like to think that the average wrestling fan has a 6-month attention span. And don't ever reference things that happened, that long ago. And granted, the Jim Cornette 7-year theory, in that there is enough wrestling turnover in fan base every 7 years, you can reuse angles from before 7 years ago, and they'll feel fresh, and they do that, that happens a lot. But Heath Slater, referencing the Nexus, referencing the Core, one-man band, 3MB, all that good stuff. For me, as someone who's watched wrestling since 1994, any kind of continuity, any references to old stuff, like Randy Orton in his thing referenced that he used to be the Legend Killer. Like, I appreciate that as someone who's been watching a long time. That stuff goes a long way. Certainly with the network, goes a long way. Go back and do your research, kids. Anyway, Heath Slater gets interrupted and gored by Rhino, which is not that big of a surprise because he was on NXT doing some stuff. So, but I guess he's on SmackDown now, and he gores Heath Slater. Now he's like running for office in Michigan, so I'm not sure that's going to impact his, wrestling schedule, like being the mayor, or that's, well, if he wins. But that's, interesting, I suppose. Now, that means that if Rhino is true, then where is Kurt Hawkins? And, if Shelton Benjamin was true, where is MVP? So, we've got some time. We'll see how it happens. Anyway, your main event, the 6-pack challenge, is Bray Wyatt, Apollo Crews, Baron Corbin, Dolph Ziggler, AJ Styles, and the face who runs the place, John Cena. And match had some fun spots in it. It was, a pretty typical TV match for SmackDown. Certainly didn't feel, it didn't feel as important as the Raw stuff felt, which is kind of worrying at this early spot of, hey, we're going to be SmackDown, we're going to be different. I'm like, no, you kind of just felt the same but less important. But much like how Roman Reigns had a fucking Game Genie on Raw just spamming out Superman punches, John Cena had a fucking Game Genie and was spamming out nice RKO out of a fucking, yeah, good times. John Cena was spamming Attitude just at the end of this match. But the winner of this match was not John Cena. The winner of this match was Dolph Ziggler which that makes Dolph Ziggler your #1 contender for the WWE title for SummerSlam, which feels weird. One, does that mean you're going to turn Dolph heel or Ambrose heel? Because working a face versus face match on like your second or third biggest show of the year is weird. But also, you need to make Dolph Ziggler seem really important really fast. Because, much like I said, I appreciate when they treat fans like they actually have a memory. Anyone who's been watching the product the past 6 months. The past 6 months has been Dolph Ziggler on the fucking pre-show fighting Baron Corbin. So how am I supposed to believe that Dolph Ziggler deserves to fight for the WWE Championship in SummerSlam? So I feel like that's not going to be the main event. The main event is going to be Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor. Or the main event is going to be Brock Lesnar and Randy Orton. Because it's not going to be Ambrose and Ziggler. I can tell you that much right now. Anyway, SmackDown, your first week, I would say, no. It's reminding me why I didn't watch SmackDown in the first place. Now, granted, it's the first week, but man, Raw knocked it out of the fucking park this week. SmackDown, not so much. So, I guess, okay, out of nowhere. It's early. There's room for improvement. But, oh, Maurice with the ref. Nice. There's certainly room for improvement, and I hope they can improve, because if I gotta keep doing these SmackDown reviews every week, I don't want to be, an asshole about it every week, being like, look, guys, what the fuck are you doing? You've got a roster. But there was one thing I wanted to get into at the end here that I haven't had the chance to really complain about yet, and that is SmackDown has a women's division. SmackDown has a tag team division. What are they fighting for? In wrestling, and in any sport, your ultimate goal is to be the champion. So you have 6 women in your division and no women's belt. What are they fighting for? What is their ultimate goal? You got all these tag teams. What are they fighting for? What is their goal? Because there's no top of the mountain. You can spend all this time talking about the glass ceiling and the brass ring and everything else, which is fine because you have a world champion. But you've only got a world champion and an IC champion, so what's the point of having tag teams? What's the point of having a women's division? Hopefully they fix that problem this summer or sooner than that, because what the fuck. Anyway, that's my thoughts. Leave yours down in the comments. I'll see you guys back here every day for more videos. I'm attackslug. Thanks for watching, and I'm out!